My guest today is Sean Russell, lead singer with the Cutthroat Finches. So the last time the Weekly spoke with Sean, Weekly writer David Fletcher was reviewing an event of moon disaster. So Sean, what have you been up to since then?
We've had some changes. We actually took on a new guitar player during that time. We just were starting to promote the record, and that got stopped short, of course. But we were hoping for the artist retreat version of the pandemic in the meantime, and we are about to go in the studio, but we've had lots of babies in our band. We've all pretty much had COVID, and some of us had COVID while having babies and car wrecks.
So Sean, your last music video, The Message, the main star of the music video is a child. So how did that come about?
That was actually the idea of Rebecca and Joe from Red Horn Productions and Mean Motor Scooter. They were great to work with because they really understood the song, they understood the nature of the lyrics and the intent. But they came up with a lot of the footage that was used, the idea. They were copying things that were being seen in the news and making them into sort of a comic, like a moving comic strip type feel. But the idea was that the weight of it was for the future. I mean, yes, we may have created, my generation may be the ones creating this chaos with the way that we're reacting to everything, that's happening, but they'll be the ones who pay for it. So that kind of seemed to be in the backdrop of their minds when they came up with the idea and presented it to me, storyboarded it to me.
Where do you think we are as a country right now? I told you I was going to ask you this question.
Right. So. When I was writing these, I had the hope for a polite conversation when it came out. And really, the whole time I started writing Cutthroat Finches music, one of the main reasons we became a band was that Taylor Tatch and I at the time, as we were recording the songs, they were becoming more and more political. Our conversations in the studio were becoming more and more political in the lead up to the 2016 election because of the discussions of issues. So the whole band was born out of a political fervence that was growing, just looking at how we're thinking and how we're seeing the world and what we're doing in the world. But at the time, I think I had hoped that if musicians started writing those kind of songs again, like they did in the 60s, that maybe we could change things. I've become more pessimistic, I hate to say, and I feel like I'm resigned more to an idea that there's got to be a way where we just agree that we're only going to get further apart, that the left and right will get further apart, and therefore the truths that each of us hold to will only get worse. I don't know a solution that fixes that, and therefore learning a way to compromise, to learning within that to be able to still work and get the jobs done that need to get done, and at least for our future, for the future of our kids, for our families and things like that. When I started writing Polite Conversation, we were afraid to write about politics and what was going on, but they've gotten to the point to where they can't not say something about it. Maybe they don't know how to say it, or maybe they're worried they're going to alienate an audience, but looking back at all the artists that we worship today, these are the the further and the deeper they got into not caring about offending people, the more it gave people a reason to listen. It gave them a real voice to hear. And I think that's, I'm not saying it's missing. I don't want to criticize the whole industry. I think that it's rare, though.
On the brighter side, you're performing. Again, you performed recently at Lola's.
Right.
So how's that going?
It's been interesting. I would say on the small scale of it is, first of all, absolutely loved it, and the Lola staff were great. I mean, they've kept. I would say that, I was wondering how Lola's. I mean, it just happens to be our first show back. We were thinking everybody's going to be in masks sitting at their tables, right? And we were worried about how people react. But I would say that my impression, at least, of my fans for Cutthroat Finches and our friends, that they adhered to the mask rule voluntarily without having to be told. And I hope that trend continues.
I know you're not Anthony Fauci, but if people behave and we get our vaccines, do you see things picking up in the summer? When are we going to start seeing some of what we're used to as far as live music events?
Yeah, the CDC and the announcements that, again, that they feel like we can start gathering, like if people are willing to take the vaccine, obviously it makes things a lot easier. I also respect people's cautious nature when it comes to taking the vaccine, so I don't want it to all seem like I'm bashing anybody, including my wife. My wife is not a trusting person when it comes to vaccines. I 100% support her wanting to sit back, but also it's like collectively, for those of us who are willing to take it, and for those of us who are not, it's like as long as we're trying to respect each other's will and we're aware of it and cognizant of a greater good, if we can just remain cognizant of a greater good, then what we really want at the end of it is closer than it will be if we decide to exercise our personal freedom to the maximum and make that the priority.
We all look forward to seeing Cutthroat Finches performing regularly again.
Yeah.
You guys are a very popular, important local band. We appreciate what you guys do, and we look forward to hearing more of it this year. So, Sean Russell, thanks for talking with us at Mass.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Cheers.